Hi everyone, and welcome to another art session with me, Mr. Richardson. This is for my grade 2 students, so we're going to be learning a little bit about indigenous artwork. So indigenous artwork spans back many hundreds of years ago. Traditionally they would use types of pigment from the earth using rocks and stones that ground with a bit of water to turn into a type of paint. And then they would paint stories about the land, the animals, the people, onto surfaces such as caves, onto rocks. And you'd often find symbolic handprints on the surface of the caves and the walls there. So you are going to be doing something similar with your handprint onto paper. So for today's activity, you'll need a sheet of plain white paper, something that you can colour with. Now I've chosen liquid crayons. You might want to use textures, coloured pencils, if you've got crayons, if you've got any chalk pastels, watercolour paint, anything that you can colour with is okay for this activity. You'll also need something that you can print with. Now, if you haven't got any other materials apart from what's in your pencil case, then you can use coloured textures for this as well. Or if you've got acrylic paint, then you can use that also. Okay, let's get started. Hi everyone, and welcome to another art session with me, Mr. Richardson. This is for my grade 2 students, so we're going to be learning a little bit about indigenous artwork. So indigenous artwork spans back many hundreds of years ago. Traditionally they would use types of pigment from the earth using rocks and stones that ground with a bit of water to turn into a type of paint. And then they would paint stories about the land, the animals, the people, onto surfaces such as caves, onto rocks. And you'd often find symbolic handprints on the surface of the caves and the walls there. So you are going to be doing something similar with your handprint onto paper. So for today's activity, you'll need a sheet of plain white paper, something that you can colour with. Now I've chosen liquid crayons. You might want to use textures, coloured pencils, if you've got crayons, if you've got any chalk pastels, watercolour paint, anything that you can colour with is okay for this activity. You'll also need something that you can print with. Now, if you haven't got any other materials apart from what's in your pencil case, then you can use coloured textures for this as well. Or if you've got acrylic paint, then you can use that also. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so to start off with, you'll need to get your hand, and you're going to be doing 2 tracings on your paper. So you need to kind of make sure that you spread your fingers out. And I've got big hands, yours are going to be a lot smaller, so they will fit nicely onto a piece of paper. It'll be a bit of a challenge in trying to fit my big, huge hands onto the paper. However, challenge accepted. I will get my pencil and trace right around the outside. And then you're going to do it on the other side. There, just squish them in. Okay, now think about what you are going to use to create colour outside of those hands and fingers. So whatever you have got free choice of what you would like to use to put colour around the outside. So as I mentioned, I'm using liquid crayon. It's like textures, but they work in the same way that watercolour pencils do. So when I put water on it, it's going to make the colour bleed out. So I can carefully trace. Okay. So I've got my cup of water and my brush. Now, of course, you only need this if you've got something like watercolor pencils or liquid crayons. I'm not sure that you'd have these at home. But watercolor paints, you can do this with. I've chosen a fairly light color and keep dipping the brush in the water. And just kind of push the color outside to make it bleed a bit. And you never know, you can always try this with your textures at home and see if the color will bleed in your normal colored textures. Who knows? The best part about doing artwork is that you experiment and see what will work. Okay, if you're using something wet like watercolor paints, then you'll need to dry it before you go on to the next stage. Okay, so there's my two colored hands there. One I did with the watercolor texture with water. The other one I used chalk pastel pencils and just blended it outwards. But again, as I mentioned, you can use anything that you've got. So you can use colored pencil just to shade around the outside. You can use normal textures, whatever you have got available to you. Okay, the next stage, you will be doing some printing. Now, again, you have to work out what you've got at home. You can either use normal colored textures or you can use acrylic paint, and you'll need something to do your dots with. So I've got this grey pencil here. It's not completely circle, but it's got a nice shiny end on it, which is great for, particularly if you've got a coloured texture, then you can put the coloured texture on that shiny surface there and then dot it there. Or you could just simply get your coloured texture and draw circles on the perimeter of your fingers around the hand there. Otherwise, if you're using paint, you can just use your pinky finger to dot, or even better, you can use the end of the paintbrush handle too. So you've got many different options there to print with or colour with. So work out what you can use, and you are going to just simply do perfect circle dots around the inside of your hand and fingers. So it's going to take a bit of patience and concentration, and you need to kind of just carefully press down without doing it too quick and splodging it everywhere. This is an activity where you have to practice some patience and concentration, because you don't want to go too quick and they end up looking like just random blobs and not circles. So there you have it, folks. My Indigenous inspired handprint artwork using whatever you have got at home. So I use a combination of water crayons, water paint, chalk pastel, acrylic paint. You could do texture dots as well. I found that my pinky finger worked really nicely with the small dots, and I took my time. I tried it with my bigger pointer finger and it didn't really give me as nice dots as the others did. So that's the part about artwork though. You may find that some things work better than others. It's all about experimenting and seeing what works best for you. So I hope you have a lot of fun with this. I'd love to see all your finished products. Until next time, see you later.